Hey folks, it's Jared Mannanen from the website TahoeTrailGuide.com. Today I'm going to be talking about the correct use of your cross-country ski poles when diagonal striding on the flats uphill and while performing the herringbone up steeper inclines. The number one thing that I want you to realize when using your cross-country ski poles while classic cross-country skiing or diagonal striding is that they're primarily used as a means of propulsion. To a lesser degree, they're used for timing, and to an even lesser degree, they're used for keeping your balance. If you do find yourself having to use your poles to keep yourself upright, you should probably do a lot of training without using the ski poles. So I'll just diagonal stride without using them because we want to develop that base or that platform, which is going to be our lower half of the body, including our core muscles, of course, but a lot of it is going to be keeping that good form where we're balanced, stacked on one ski and gliding, and then pushing off, transferring our weight to the other ski, and then gliding. If we're thinking in the terms of propulsion rather than balance, that changes the entire way we hold, carry, and view these ski poles. So first of all, because it's propulsion, we don't want our poles upright. We want them at our feet or slightly behind our feet when we land our ski pole. And the reason for that is that they're used for propulsion. These baskets here prevent the ski poles from driving into the snow, which means we have a point on the earth in the snow that we can now push off from. Very similar to the idea of using the grip zone of our classic diagonal stride skis to push off from a place on the earth. If I'm using my ski poles as I'm supposed to, where I'm landing them at or behind my feet and helping to push forward, if I remove the poles from the equation, so if I'm diagonal striding normal with ski poles and then all of a sudden my ski poles disappear, you shouldn't really notice a whole lot of different in my body movement. It's going to be very similar. It's just not going to have as much power. And this would be assuming that we're going on the flats and not going uphill, for example. If we were negotiating different terrain, then you would probably see me trying to compensate without having poles by doing that. But if we were just going on the flats, diagonal striding with poles, and all of a sudden they disappeared from my hand, my arm movement is going to be about the same. My body movement is going to be about the same. So let's think of incorporating these ski poles into our movement so that it becomes as natural as swinging our arms when we walk or we run. Going back to that idea that these ski poles are used for propulsion and we're trying to load them with power. If our poles are up in the air and we're pushing off from our ski poles while they're up in the air, like a lot of beginners will hold them in front of them in order to keep their balance, there's no power going forward. It's going up. So think of this ski pole as pointing in the direction that you want to be. When we're diagonal striding and I land that ski pole, it's at an angle as my arm swings down, and I'm just naturally leaving that pole in place as my body goes forward. I'm capitalizing on the power created from the push off from that pole. This is one of the main reasons why cross-country ski poles are so tall. If you notice, the ski pole that I'm using is at my between my armpit and the top of my shoulder, and that's approximately how long the ski pole should be for classic cross-country skiing. They say 83% of your height in centimeters is about the length that you want to be using. As we're pushing off and using that ski pole, again, we're landing it opposite. So the ski pole opposite of the ski on which I'm gliding is going to be what's landing. I'm not landing the adjacent ski pole to ski. I'm landing the opposite. So when my left foot is forward, my right hand is forward. As a visual cue, the top of my ski pole grip, top of my ski pole, to mirror the ski that's coming forward. So the incoming glide ski, I want this to be about the same time, so that as I'm kicking forward with that trailing leg, I'm also swinging forward with that trailing arm. So propulsion, everything is moving forward. Everything wants to go forward in this linear fashion. So we're trying to not only use that lower half of our body where we're driving forward with that ski, but we're also using part of our upper body where we're swinging our arm forward with the ski pole. One of the things that I also want to point out is the fact that we are not running and we are not walking, even though it's similar to it, the movement is similar, classic skiing is. There's the glide phase, that magic portion of skiing that makes it skiing rather than hiking or running, right? So we have that glide phase. When we're diagonal striding, it should just be a natural rhythmic motion. Again, this circle, at any point on the circle we can pull an aspect out and we can analyze it, but there's no beginning and end. It's just one continuous motion, or it should be one continuous flow. So there shouldn't be any clear stops or obvious long extended pauses. There's gonna naturally be a little bit of a pause before we set the ski pole. But that's during the glide phase, and that's what can be a little bit challenging for people when they're trying to incorporate the poling into their diagonal striding, is we forget the glide phase, and it does take a fraction of time. We don't just immediately stab into the ground with the poles. We bring our arms up and our ski forward. At the tail end of the glide is going to be where I then bite into the snow with the ski pole tips. And again, this is assuming that you're diagonal striding, you're pushing off, transferring weight, gliding, and actually gliding. Like gliding on one ski as you're supposed to, with your weight stacked over that one ski for that fraction of time, and then pushing off and transferring. So it feels like there's that natural pause at the top of the swing with the ski pole, and it's just, it shouldn't be long. It shouldn't be like you're just going down the tracks holding your arm out forward. It should just feel momentarily forward as you're going down the tracks. When I'm swinging my arm forward, I want there just to be a natural bend, natural arc, curve. And then when I push down, when I land that ski pole tip, there's going to be tension on my arm because I don't want to just let it go limp, right? There's going to be tension on the arm, and then there's going to be tension on the abdominal side in which you're pulling. That's a super subtle thing, and you'll develop it over time. I wouldn't emphasize doing that immediately. Otherwise, it's going to look like you're doing crunches all the way down the tracks. You know, broad concepts, let's think of any sport. It's a whole body engagement. It's not just doing one thing with your arm, one thing with your leg. The whole is greater than the sum of the parts, right? We're combining all this stuff together so that it's this well-oiled machine that's moving forward. We're having a good time because it becomes the most efficient body movement. Therefore, we're using the least amount of energy to move forward. And we can maybe look up every once in a while and look around and see what is around us. When we're releasing our ski poles, and this is the reason we wear the ski pole straps like we do in cross-country skiing, where we come up underneath and down over the top. And as I release the ski pole, I can actually release my grip from the ski pole and swing the pole forward. These simple straps are the least enjoyable ones to wear. The ones that have like the grip around the hand that you can click in, it gives you a better connection to the ski pole. These straps give you the least amount of connection to that ski pole grip, but they're still good enough, and I use them all the time. In the backcountry, they're fine. But the idea is that this pole is coming with me. I don't have to grip it so much. I don't have to have the death grip. And a lot of times the death grip will cause that ski pole to come upright. So if we have a light grip, just almost thumb and forefinger, maybe the middle finger worked in there, but no death grip, just having a real light grip so that it can move forward and swing just easily. And with cross-country skiing, I always talk about it being efficient, finding the path of least resistance to achieving the greatest results. And that comes with knowing when to fire muscles and when to relax them so that you're not tense the whole time and fatiguing yourself sooner than you have to be. The irony, again, I think I've mentioned it before, is that once you learn these efficient techniques, that you start to ski faster, you start to ski further, so you become fatigued anyway. But you do so after having traveled many more miles or kilometers and seeing more stuff. So that's the benefit, but it also is kind of an interesting thing, is because you know how to run the thing more efficiently, so you can just push it a little bit harder. The timing and the poling while going up a slight incline, but while still performing diagonal stride. If you're gaining glide going uphill, it's basically the same thing. I mean, a lot of times we're going to shorten into almost more of a shuffle and only get a few inches of glide versus a foot or two or more. But then again, that's all going to happen naturally. You're not going to try to bust out a huge, powerful glide uphill. It's just no longer an efficient movement at that time. So naturally, you're going to want to get a little bit shorter with everything. But again, the timing is going to be the same. The timing is going to dramatically shift when we go into a herringbone, the herringbone technique, where we're basically then just walking uphill. And in that case, because we're not gliding, I tend to land the ski and the pole at the same time, and what that does is provide a break, because if I'm only on one ski and I'm up a really steep hill and I wait to pull, there's a good chance I'm just going to slide back on that one ski. So I like to really be obvious when I'm slapping the ski into the ground when I'm doing the herringbone. It's not until you start to crest the hill where the angle starts to lessen that you can incorporate a little bit more normal poling, because now you're incorporating the glide phase. But without the glide phase in the herringbone, for example, just land them at the same time and use that opposite pull to the ski on which you're standing as a break to the other side of your body. Just a short recap. Number one thing, ski poles are for propulsion, not necessarily balance. If you find yourself using the ski poles as a means to stay upright, I challenge you to start skiing without the poles. You can hold them mid-shaft and still benefit from the swing weight of the ski pole as you're going down the trail, but now we're forced to rely on our lower half, on our hips, on our positioning on our ski in order to ski better. So develop that lower half first and then start to incorporate poles. And you can even, and I do it a lot of times actually, where I'll just be diagonal striding and I'll just pull the poles out of the ground and still swing my arms normally. Sometimes getting that snow off there so it's not extra heavy, but swinging normally so that, again, am I doing it right? Am I still pushing off? Am I sliding my ski back? Am I falling over? Just a way of evaluating ourselves every once in a while. That is the foundation strong, and is it where I want to be? So ski poles, propulsion, timing. Bring that trailing ski, trailing arm together as we go forward. Let's make one explosive movement so that we can capitalize on the next glide phase. And then when we're ready to set that, it's going to be at the tail end of the glide. Don't wait until you come all the way to a stop to start pulling. It's going to come naturally at some point. You're going to feel, yeah, it's time to move forward to the next ski. And that's when you're going to bite the snow with that ski pole and use it to start the whole rhythm all over again. Get in the habit of landing your poles, the tips of them, at or slightly behind your feet. Try to avoid coming in front of them. If our ski pole tips are landing in front of our feet, we're no longer pushing, we're pulling, and P-U-L-L-I-N-G, pulling. And that just doesn't work. So land them slightly at or behind your feet so that you can push. Pushing back causes you to move forward unless you slip. Okay folks, that's way more than I was planning on talking about today. Again, everything in cross-country skiing is just a big circle. It's one big, complex, yet refined body movement. And the problem with that is there's so much in which to study. I mean, if we could study just poling alone for days and days and days, right? There's always something that we can tweak, that we can modify, that we can adapt to different environments and look at it from that perspective. But an overview of this poling in the broader context of diagonal striding, I think is a good starting point. I'll cover in the future poling for double poling, or poling for kick, double poling, or double pole kick. We'll cover that in a different video. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you have any questions or feedback, post it in the comment section below, and then check out TahoeTrailGuide.com. I have a whole bunch of articles that go into different details about all these different aspects of cross-country skiing that I'm talking about on this YouTube channel. It's just that they're in a written form with photographs versus the videos. So slightly different for different types of learners. Check that out, please. If you feel compelled to contribute in a financial way to the health and longevity of Tahoe Trail Guide and this YouTube channel, I offer a subscription-based Patreon account. Keep in mind that it's not a huge benefits-driven account. So for example, I'm going to produce all this stuff for free no matter what. You never have to pay me to watch it. You just got to endorse some YouTube ads and that sort of thing. However, if you really like what I'm doing and you want to get a little bit of art from me, if you contribute at the $6 per month tier on my Patreon account and hold that for 6 months, I will send you some original artwork, probably going to be some sort of watercolor and pen and ink of a nature scene. So if that's something of interest to you, please subscribe to my Patreon account. On the other hand, if you just want to make a one-time payment, tip, gratuity, I have a PayPal and Venmo option for that. I just want to give a shout out to all my Patreon subscribers, all the people who have provided me financial support while making these videos and articles, and all the people that like, subscribe, comment, ask great questions, provide insightful feedback. I super appreciate all of that. It makes it really inspiring for me to want to make more videos, write more articles, answer more questions. So for that, I am really grateful. And with that, I don't know if you could tell, but the snow is getting sticky as the sun is baking a little bit more, so I'm gonna head home. Take care, everyone.